She was just another soldier in the room, standing before men who'd spent decades in uniform. She didn't have a wall of medals. She didn't speak unless spoken to. She didn't even wear a name tag they recognized. But when she raised her shirt and showed them what was carved into her ribs, even the admiral, the man who never lost his voice in 30 years, fell completely silent. Asterisk, the warship Orion's honor had seen storms, invasions, betrayals. But no one expected it to be rattled by the quietest person in the room, the command. Room was filled with military royalty generals with legacy bloodlines, admirals whose names were stitched into textbooks. The walls were lined with brass honor flags, and strategy boards filled with red circles and code names. It was here that Lieutenant Kayla Monroe stood, unshaken, unknown. She wasn't supposed to be in that room. Not in front of Admiral Rourke, the Iron Commander of the North Fleet. Not in front of an entire operations team deciding who would lead Shadow Glass, the riskiest stealth mission in modern warfare. And yet, there she was. Asterisk, Admiral Rourke didn't like surprises, especially when they showed up without a folder thick enough to slap on the table. He leaned forward, arms crossed. You've been in service for what, 18 months? You've never commanded a field team, no war college, no special ops background. So why are you on this list? Kayla didn't blink. She didn't shift her feet. She simply replied, because I volunteered. A few chuckles broke out among the older men, not cruel, just dismissive. You think volunteering makes you ready for blood? You think we can hand this op to someone with a spotless uniform and a clean record? She inhaled. Looked the admiral straight in the eyes. No, sir. I think you've mistaken a clean file for a clean life. Asterisk, the admiral raised an eyebrow. Explain. She didn't speak immediately. Instead, Kayla reached to her vest, unzipped it slowly, then gently lifted the left side of her undershirt. Not fully, just high enough to expose the skin beneath her ribs. The room once casually cold froze. On her side were 3 brutal, jagged scars, not clean surgical cuts. Not training injuries. Deep, torn, burned into the muscle. They looked like a story. No file could hold. An older colonel turned his head away. Another officer stared, eyes wide. And Admiral Rourke. He was silent, jaw clenched, gaze locked. Asterisk, I got these before I was ever called lieutenant, she began. Her voice didn't tremble. It was steel wrapped in memory. 3 years ago, I was a refugee crossing the Red Line border. Our convoy got hit by enemy snipers. 2 vans exploded. I pulled 2 kids out of a burning one. Took shrapnel in the ribs. We hid in the mud for 3 days until a rescue drone spotted us. She looked at the admiral. The soldier who pulled me out called me kid. Until I carried his gear the last mile to the evac point. I didn't have a name back then. Just a mission. Survival. I signed up not to serve a flag, but because I knew I'd already survived more than half the men giving orders. Dead silence. Then she lowered her shirt, zipped her vest, and said, You wanted proof I could lead a team? My proof is still healing beneath this fabric. Asterisk, Admiral Rourke stood up slowly. This was a man whose chest was lined with ribbons, who had barked orders through 4 wars, who once said, Compassion is a luxury of the safe. But in that moment, he wasn't. Speaking to a soldier, he was staring at something more rare. What was your name again? He asked, softer this time. Lieutenant Kayla Monroe, sir. And you think you're ready to lead Shadow Glass? She didn't pause. I already have. In my own war. Rourke turned to his team. No vote. No objections. Just one order. Put her name at the top. And give her full access to the dossier. Word spread fast. The room she walked out of now whispered her name, not as a novelty, not as a scandal, but as a leader. Soldiers began to salute her without being told. Officers made space at the table. And for the first time since her scars were carved into her body. They meant power. Asterisk, word spread fast. The room she walked out of now whispered her name, not as a novelty, not as a scandal, but as a leader. Soldiers began to salute her without being told. Officers made space at the table, and for the first time since her scars were carved into her body.